Just make sure that this is a test. We'll adjust it after.
Huh?
This is a test.
Page 1, start from the beginning.
Okay. Page
152.
152. Take that one.
Okay. שער הייחוד והאמונה. The gate of understanding that Hashem is the only one, and what is really the faith to believe in it. Because in Judaism, faith is not only a weak point. Usually when we say believing is because I have no proof, so I have no choice but to believe. In Judaism, believing and having faith in Hashem is the strongest point what the Jewish soul reveals. That's why we see in all generations, the Jewish people, even if they were not philosophers, they wouldn't understand so deep, but they sacrificed themselves when it came to choice, being Jewish or not Jewish, they sacrificed themselves. Why? Because they had the faith, and they couldn't otherwise, not because they choose a better way to have reward. It was because it pays off, because they couldn't otherwise. Why? Because that was the faith. So the faith is actually a higher level than understanding. But at the same time, we have to take that faith and bring it down in knowledge, in wisdom, understanding, and down to the emotions. So the faith has to be the dominant rule in life. And that's what we're going to see. What is it about faith? פרק א', so להבין מעט מסייר, to be able to understand a little from little, yeah, that's the headline. מה שכתוב בזוהר, that's what it says in Zohar, תשמע ישראל, that's what we say, the verse, שמע ישראל, the Zohar says, it's called ייחודה עילאה. That is the view to see that Hashem and godliness is the only one from point of view when we look from above. וברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. That's the 5 letters it says, yeah? ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. וייחודת התאה. That is to show that Hashem is the only one from the point of view that we see from bottom up, that we understand the whole creation, and then brings us to the conclusion that God is the only one. But it's not only from what point of view you see it, but it's a different level out is the only one. Because if we start to look from our point of view, so we always exist. Just our existence wouldn't be existence without Hashem. So it's like you would take the body and it's connected to the soul. That's what makes it life. If the body would have its own function, then it would be not a healthy body. Since the body is devoted and giving herself a unifying with the soul, becomes like one, that's why it becomes a life body, right? But after all the things, the body is the body and the soul is the soul. It's the only thing that the body lost itself totally in the identity of the soul. So it became a living body, not anymore a body, it became a human. That if we look from bottom up, but if we look from above, then it's not, it's much more than that. Because then what it means is that there isn't nothing besides him total, because since he's unlimited, so everything what comes from him, what does it show? It is unlimited. It's expressing his unlimitation. So does exist something else besides him? So that's the two levels how to see it. And of course we'll also have to come to see how can be the coexistence. You say Shema Israel and at the same time you say Baruch Shem, how does it go together? But in general, what the Alter Rebbe wants to explain in that part of the Tanya, what's called Shara Yefud Ve'emunah, the gate of bringing Hashem as only one. And the faith is explaining what are we believing in. And we have to know that if you do not know what to believe in, it's almost like believing in idols. Because if you take Hashem and you put a picture on him, a framework, you explain him, then you're not talking about him, you're talking about an idol. So just to be able to have a pure faith, not idling or any imagination, we have to be abstract from a lot of levels to higher and higher to be able to really understand what God and godliness is. And that's what Alter Rebbe is explaining in that 12 chapters. Chapter 1, פרק א', וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך. You should know as clear as the day, and you should bring it to the attention of your heart. What you should know, what you should emphasize and concentrate. Ki Hashem hu Elokim. That Hashem, He is the power, the God, where Bashamayim, Mimal, in heaven, the sky, above, Val Aretz mitachat, and the earth, and from under the earth, Enod. There's nothing else. That's the verse as it says in the Torah. So the Alter Rebbe is asking v'tzarich le'avin, that we cannot take the words of the verse as simple, because otherwise we would have a question. What do we need to understand? V'chi ta'aleh al da'atcha, would that come up to your mind? Sheyesh Elokim nishre b'mayim mitachat la'aretz, that there is a God, what is soaking in the water under the earth. שצריך להזהיר כל כך, that the Torah has to warn you so strong and encourage you and warn you, והשבות על לבביך, the Torah tells you that you have to concentrate, and you have to bring it to the attention to your heart, bring it into your feelings. That what? That Hashem is the only one, there's no one else in the water, in the bottom of the earth. Who would think there's another God in the water at the bottom of the earth, that the Torah has to warn us, encourage us? Why would we need it? So in other words, it's impossible to take the explanation of that verse in a simple matter, because even a simple matter doesn't make sense. So that leads us that there is a deeper meaning to it. It's not simple to say there isn't another God, and the other God is sucking under the water. No one would even come to his mind such a thing. So since we see that the Torah is telling us, that means there is something deep, and by nature our feelings are not with it. And that's why we have to work out on it from the logical side, at the same time from the emotional side, to be able to penetrate it to ourselves and be able to really feel it. To be able to explain it. So we start explanation. הנה כתיב, לעולם השם דברך ניצב בשמיים. That forever Hashem, your words, stands in the sky. So it means whatever Hashem said is standing in the sky. What does it mean? Upiresh Baal Shem Tov. So that Baal Shem Tov explained, Baal Shem Tov Zichrono Livracha, for good memory, for blessed memory, Baal Shem Tov explained, כי דברך שאמרת יהי רקיע בתוך המים, the words that Hashem said when He created the world. So He said יהי רקיע בתוך המים, there should be a sky within the water, like He divided the water and make should be a sky. So there is the words יהי רקיע. So תיבות ואותיות אלו, that words and that letters, ניצבות ועומדות לעולם, they are standing in forever בתוך רקיע השמיים. They are in this the place where Hashem made the sky and up there. ומלובשות, they are like going in the toch kol הרקיעים, like the same as a person is getting clothes on. So these words are in, and the sky is covered, is become part of it. להחיותם כדכתיב ודבר אלוקינו יקום לעולם. Like it says that the words of our God will be standing forever. And in other words, ודבריו חיים וקיימים לעד. That these words are alive and standing and existing forever. So what is the Alter Rebbe explaining here? Later on, the Alter Rebbe will explain much more why do we need it, how does it work. But in general, what he wants to bring is, I would say, even revolutionary in the way we are feeling and thinking. The way we feel and think is that we were born from one point, we were created from one point, but now we are self-existence. And he says no. The only reason why we exist because we are constantly created. The same power of Hashem, but with that power, with that glory, He created the world. So let's say the example that he brings here, that He spread the sky from the water. Within the water, it separated and spread it out. And the first moment of the creation, everyone understands it was new. And with that power and the revelation of the glory of Hashem, it would be created. But actually, the words, that power, are constantly standing in the sky and keeping it there. What does it mean? When we look at existence, so we have something that has the ultimate existence and something that have the conditional existence. Everything that has measurements and limits and diagrams is limited and it's conditional. Why? If we take this cup, what makes us think or believe or know that the cup exists? Because when I touch it, my fingers are stopping here. Mm-hmm. So what stops me? There's something that takes space, right? When I look at it, so the light of my eye stops here. So I know it cannot go further, so there's something there. In other words, what makes it exist? Because it takes space. If it wouldn't take space, then our hands wouldn't stop here. We wouldn't be able to touch. We wouldn't be able to see it because it takes no space. Is space part of the existence? Is it part of the ingredients that make it to exist? We have fire, we have water. Space is an ingredient. Or space is only a surface, a platform. But without that platform, with space or time, something can exist? No. So it means it exists in condition there is space. In condition there is time. More than that, even if you have space and time, it doesn't mean that cup has to exist as well. Right? When it comes to spiritual existence, they don't need space and time. Would someone think that the idea any logical idea, if you take 1 minus 1 will be 0. Does it make a difference in what space? Is it in Africa or in Russia? It doesn't make a difference. Does it make a difference if I want it, if I don't want? Do I have to create it? If I close my eyes, it doesn't exist. If I don't think, it doesn't exist. It's an existence, but it cannot be otherwise.
It's like a rabbi say, a hacham say, somebody took a bird and hide it and say, what do you think? I have a bird here. Is dead or is alive? He say, the hacham say, depend you. If it's dead, he can squeeze it and kill it. And if you want to be alive, but it depends on the person. But that you're talking about the space, this cup with the time can have affected the cup because it's gonna be disappearing. This cup gonna be nothing.
Correct, because it has an effect on time on it.
On time.
And
right?
that's why he talks about the sky. But sky doesn't have that effect from here. It's much more stronger, stable existence than some of the doctors.
Mm.
So what I want to bring out here is that everything what has a physical existence or whatever is limited, there must be something to make it. When we talk about abstract existence, their existence is less limited, less conditional. So when we talk about God, what is the ultimate existence, now we have to see how does it come down from the ultimate existence to become such a limited existence. He's totally unlimited. How did it come to be such a limited existence? Because from where does it really start? From the abstract. So if we take an example in our life, if we have someone has an idea but it's very abstract, how are we able to explain it to a simple person? He has to take that abstract idea and bring it down to the level of the recipient, whoever needs to be explained, right?
Mm-hmm.
How does he do it? He puts it down in different words. Like he gives them an handle out to all of it. What is the handle? The handle is the wording. What does the wording do? They eliminate the abstract side of the logic. They bring out only the simple side of the logic, and then the other person can relate to it. If it's too abstract, he cannot relate. If he puts it down as simple wording, in simple examples, he makes the way you can see it in his way of living and his way of seeing things. But deep inside, what is there? The deep logic, the abstract logic. But he puts it down, he covers it up, and it goes down. but the covering up becomes part of the lettering and the example becomes part of it. So the same thing will take when we talk about godliness. There was the revelation from Hashem. And that goes down from one level to a lower level to lower level. And each time when it goes down to the lower level, we call it the wording, the 10 sayings from Hashem. That in these 10 sayings are actually the glory of Hashem, the power of Hashem, where that comes in the world and becomes part of the world, because like it's getting dressed with that. So that power of Hashem is constantly in that thing, and that gives it the strength. So in other words, what makes everything exist? That constantly there is the word of Hashem in it. And that's what said La'olam Hashem Tzvacha Nitzah B'Shamayim. That the words, what you said in the beginning, Ye'ir I should be a sky, that words is not a one-time saying. It's a word that it constantly is in the sky and it keeps it existing, keeps us alive. Why? Because the word of Hashem is always alive. It's not like we saying a word after saying it separates from us and that's it. The words of Hashem are always with them, connected with them, explain later on how. And that gives constantly life and existence to every creature. So that's the first thing to know. Now, how much is it effective? What would be without? That's it.